Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. As always, my name is James. Thank you guys for tuning in. A little bit different environment today. No, we didn't move, but I did finish I guess the media room is what we're gonna call it. I don't really know yet. Kind of gotta come up with a name for this place, but regardless, kind of was taking over the living room in the house, and Shauna was like, "You gotta get out. You gotta go somewhere else with this gear and this stuff." So this was a storage unit we had on the property, so it was like, you know what, we can make this work. So ultimately, we still have a little bit of fine tuning to do, still a little bit of decorating to do, but regardless, we do have the neon lights or the LED lights. I like the LED lights. Sorry, not sorry, but it's my media room. I can do what I want. All right, so today we are talking something I find interesting, something that I kind of just learned over the last few years when it comes to shooting long distance. Now, granted, I have a qualification I've got to go to tomorrow. I thought it was going to be Friday, but it got rescheduled to Saturday. It is okay. It is what it is. Now, this qualification is basically I have to go to the range. I have to shoot various distances up to, at the moment, 600 yards. Once I show proficiency, I show how I get my data, then I will get access to the 1,000-yard range and then ultimately the mile-long range, because my bucket list is to shoot a mile. Now, granted, the gun I am taking tomorrow to qualify is none other than the Christensen Arms 7 PRC with the Vortex optic on top and the Timney trigger with the GSL suppressor on the front of it. And that gun is pretty dang awesome. I am not gonna lie, guys, it is pretty awesome. I would bring it out, but I've got all my gear packed away, ready to be loaded up in the morning so that I can jet off to the range, jet off to Redwood Peak Ranch. I want to get there about an hour early so that I can shoot a couple rounds, get my dope, everything dialed in perfectly, shoot a couple rounds, and then put my barrel chiller, get my fans on, and cool everything off, and just get ready to qualify. That's my plan as of right now. Now, ultimately, I've had a lot of people, a lot of friends, a lot of family say, "Hey, how do you even do that? How do you know?" And really, truly, a lot of people are oblivious to it, and I was included in that because I didn't know. Now, there's so much right here at the palm of your hands, guys, that is truly amazing that I really know. There's literally an app for everything. If you guys remember those old commercials, there's an app for everything. Yes, there is, pretty much, for the most part. So ultimately, my goal is I'm taking this Christensen Arms to Colorado, and I'm going to need data for Colorado so that I can, basically, the app is not going to work. We've already proven that. The app will not work where I'm going to be, so I'm going to have a data sheet of paper taped to the stock of my rifle so that whatever my distance is, I can go to that data sheet. I can dial in my dope. Dope basically is data on previous engagement. I can dial in my dope, adjust for windage, and hopefully, and sure, should be right on the money. Now, granted, the app that I use, I use two different apps. I'm going to talk about this one specifically more, and I'll kind of highlight some stuff, the differences on the other app here before we're done with. What I like to use is the Hornady app. That's what I like to use specifically because I either have the Hornady Precision Hunter with the 6.5 PRC, or I have the 7mm Federal Premium Ammunition. Now, granted, it is Federal, but they are using the Hornady projectile, so there's that. Now, once you get to here, click on that, click on favorites, and then from there, you click on BC calculator, and then you see I have different guns on here already. For instance, let's just do an ad. So basically, there's a plus mark here. You hit that, and then it comes here. You can put a picture there if you want. You could do really whatever you want there. And then from here, you do have to give it a title, or it won't save. And I usually would do like Christensen Arms Ridgeline 7 PRC, and that's it. That's all I do. And I check the ammunition. It is a 7 PRC, but it's a 7mm bullet. So look for the 7mm bullet. 6.5, 6.5, 6.8, 270. We're getting close. Here's the 7mm. And then you have the 7mm grain ELDX, which is that Hornady ammunition there. And then from there, then I basically, and all my input and outputs, and my units are all MOA or USA standards or US standards. That's every scope I have. I just keep everything the same so it's simple, and then I save it. Oh, I didn't title it, guys. Come on, man. That's all right. We won't necessarily save this because I have other ones we're going to test it with. So then we have the 7PRC, which is our test one right now. All we did was give it a title. All we did was select 175 grade ELDX, and we saved it. Boom. That's it. But we're not done yet, okay? So then you click on that one right there that you chose. Then you have all these variables here. Let me do this way here, guys. Let me change our angle here to make this a little bit better for us. All right, guys. So we moved the angles here, so hopefully you guys can see it better. All right. So here's what we have. What I will say is this. Now we have just basically our generic. All we did was do an add. We changed the title to 7PRC, and then we took the and we selected the bullet that we were using. That's all we've done on this one right here. And then when you click on it, this is what it comes to. Okay. Once you click on it, you hit edit rifle information, and here you select your muzzle velocity. Now, granted, each box that I've ever seen has some type of data written. Every box I've seen has some kind of data written on it. You can feel free to go through that data. Now, what I will say, where it's going to vary, where it's going to be different is based on your barrel length compared to the barrel length they use to test ammo, humidity, temp, all that stuff is going to vary on your velocity and different things like that. So if you can get a chronograph, I have a chronograph. It is a very cheap one. It only works about half the time. But I do have a small survey that I've taken. I've got a small sample that I've taken from the ammunition, and I've got, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's in the ballpark of about 28. I want to say it was like 2868 or 2870. We're going to put it about that right there. That looks good, and that is basically our muzzle velocity. Our zero range is 100. The sight height. Now, what I will say is this. If you take a tape measure from about the center of your barrel to about the center of your optic, that gets you the sight height, which mine on this rifle, I do happen to remember, is actually 2 inches. So we have 2 inches there. Oh, what in the world? 2 inches there. Your barrel twist, I believe mine's 1 1/8. We're going to leave it. It doesn't really matter at this point. We're not actually using this. All we're doing is just talking. Now, windage impact, I always leave that at 0. I do. I don't know exactly what that means. I'm sorry, I'm still a novice at some of this. If you guys understand what that means, let me know so we can make some adjustments here if we need to. Basically, you save that, and that is your rifle information that you saved. And then see here it says altitude, temp, it ain't 20 degrees, humidity, pressure, wind speed, yada yada yada. What I would say is figure out what your altitude is. You can usually Google it. Your temperature, you can get, everybody's got a this app will Bluetooth to your device, but I don't have it that way. I like to edit my stuff by myself. Now if you look here, shooting angle, edit variables, moving target, I'm going to do edit variables, right? And this right here is where you shoot your shooting angle. I leave that at 0, and just simply because I shoot at 0 here. Now I do know that in Colorado it's going to change, but I leave that at 0 here. The altitude here, I'm roughly 1,000 feet above sea level. In Colorado, that will change and be 11,000. Now pressure, let me see, temperature, oh my gosh, it's like right now it's been about 95, but you can always get your daily temperature from your weather app on your phone. But regardless, I'm just going to put 95 for now. Humidity isn't quite that high, but regardless, we're just going to go to 85 for now. Windage offset, again, I leave that alone. I just do. You go to save, and then you see how right here they have it as 1,000, 95, 85 humidity. I want to say the humidity is even lower than that. Doesn't matter at the moment. We're just giving you examples. Now, from here, it's actually fairly simple. Let me see. We're going to put it around 0. Now, at 7PRC at 100, no matter the wind's not going to play an effect on it as much. But if there is windage, you can get the information off your weather app. Right there we have 20 miles an hour, and then this right here kind of tells you the direction. Like if it's 20 miles an hour but the wind's blowing, if you're facing this way and the wind's blowing this way, this is where you can choose your angle the wind is blowing. And then what you're going to find is you're going to get some adjustments down here at the bottom. Now again, at 100 yards with 7 PRC, that right there is not going to make much of a difference to make your windage adjustments. But you start going, cancel, we don't need that, cancel. Let's go up here to about, let's go even further. Heck yeah, man, might as well stretch it, baby. 807 yards. And you notice our come up MOA and our windage has changed. That's simply because we're shooting a farther distance. Our windage, we left it at 20 miles an hour blowing this way. And then basically it's telling you to come up 15.92, which is just shy of 16 MOA, which for me, I would probably just come up 16 MOA and then go to the right 5 3/4 MOA. Now it's not quite 3/4, but it is kind of really 5 3/4 would be 5.75. It's just barely off. That's just where I would move it. I would move that to 16 and move that to 5.75. Is about as close as you can get under MOA. Now I do think MRAD does get you a little bit better. I'm not telling you one's better over the other. I'm just telling you I like MOA simply because I've been using decimals and stuff since I was a kid. It was even a machinist for a little while, so I'm used to using that number, so that's what I like to use. And granted, this is it. This is really where I collect my dope, and regardless, wherever you change this at, this will update, and this will give you your come up, this will give you your windage, and basically that's it. If your windage change, let's say your windage for some reason, let's just say thermals change, well then now all of a sudden your windage is negative 0.417, which means you just need to move it you can guess probably either 4 inches or 4 1/4 to the left. That's really up to you. Now what I will say is this. All this is, guys, is to get you close. Now, granted, I have had quite a bit of luck with this app right here, like a lot of luck with this app. It has been spot on at 300, 400, 500, 600. It has been spot on. I have no complaints as of right now. That's how I set up my... God dang, man, I hate every time I go to record. Regardless, guys, when I go to shoot, I use this ballistic app, and I enter that data in, how it is, and it gives me information. And I take that information, I enter it in my rifle. Now, what I will say is this, is if you're not having much luck with it, either A, double check your windage, double check everything you have, and if you're still not having much luck, then this basically is to get you close, and it's up to you to make your fine-tune adjustments, and then learn in relation to where you're at in relationship to your rifle, which that means you've got to practice. You need to practice a lot so that you know your dope. And again, dope is data on previous engagement. If this is spot on, perfect. If it's not, then you have to know, like, usually it's a little low, so I'm going to move it 1 or 2 clicks higher, whatever. You have to kind of learn that and adjust on the fly when it comes to shooting long distance. Again, I've had pretty good luck. I've had pretty good accuracy luck just by going with the app, and I'm very happy with it. But again, I've had a lot of people ask me, and a lot of people just get nervous, like, what do you do? How do you do this? I'm like, it's simple, man. I just plug in information, and it gives me data. I take that data, just my turrets, up, down, left, right, and I hit steel. It's that simple. Now, granted, it's intimidating because we get outside of our normal normalcies of a 50 or 100, but once you start shooting 2, 3, 4, 5, 600, even 1,000, it's really not that bad. It's not that hard at all. There's data out here that works with your gun, that work. It's just the power is in the palm of your hand. You take this information and you can shoot long distance. Now, there are a lot of apps out there. I don't get paid by Hornady. Hornady doesn't say promote my app. They don't do that. I use it because I've been using their ammo. So that's that. Now, granted, I have a 300 Win Mag inside that I have shot 1,000 yards with, and I used Barnes ammunition. Now, with the Barnes ammunition, I actually at the time only had Lapua pulled up on my phone, the Lapua app. If you guys are wondering, it's this one right here, the blue one with the L inside. And basically, I would actually need to log into my account. I haven't logged into my account since I got this phone. The other one, It's at the bottom of a lake somewhere. It doesn't matter. But regardless, so when the Lapua app works differently, they want when last time I used it, it wanted more specific information on the scope you have, like what model Vortex you have, this and that, and different things. Rifle, it had a little bit more specific information. It didn't give you like 6.37 MOA up. It didn't give you that. It actually said turn it 37 clicks up. It gave you specific clicks that it wanted you to move, and I found that useful. It's just different. It's a different way of doing the same thing, but it would actually give you the number of clicks to move as opposed to telling you to turn it up so many MOA. And so it just depends. But regardless, it's just a different way of giving you the same information. Now, one thing I will say, that Lapua app with the Barnes ammunition, I'm assuming that Lapua app only has their ammunition in there, and Barnes ammunition is not listed in there. But what I did do is, let's just say, I don't remember the exact grain weight. I want to say it's 175. I could be wrong. The Lapua app had a 177 grain, which is 2 grains off of the bullet I'm using for that rifle. But the feet per second out the muzzle was so close. It was almost exactly the same, at least as far as what was entered in this app. So I used that specific bullet with all the data I entered in, and then I was hitting at 1,000 yards, which is phenomenal. And I hit 2 out of 5 times, which is great. My only enemy was the wind. Once I figured that out, I actually hit really, really well. But you have so much information right here in the palm of your hand that most people don't know, because they don't have anybody that shows them, they don't have anybody that talks about it. So I just figured, you know what, I'd have an episode of where I talk about my ballistics app that I use, and I've had a lot of luck with it, especially the Hornady one and the Lapua one. I've had a lot of luck with both of them. Both of them require information entered in differently, but they both work very, very well. The information they give out is different, but it still works. It's what it is. It's just a different product. But I don't have one I prefer over the other. I'm just using the Hornady because I'm using Hornady bullets as projectiles or ammunition at the moment. And so regardless, that is ultimately in a nutshell how I set up my ballistics app, how I shoot long range, and I've had a lot of success with it. Now, that being said, we have a huge test coming tomorrow. I feel like I'm in high school again, but I have a huge test coming tomorrow. I'm going to be qualifying, from what I understand, various ranges. I've heard a couple different things. Depends on who your instructor is. It could be various ranges up to 600. I've also heard it could be 5 rounds at 600, and you got to hit it so many times, whatever. And they want to see, how do you get your information? How do you get your data? How are you collecting everything? And then they say, okay, you shoot, you show proficiency, and then they're like, okay, good, you're good to go, and they sign off on you. Which I'm not gonna lie, I'm a bit nervous because I'm gonna be recording, so the pressure's on. The pressure's on, and it is what it is. Win, lose, or draw tomorrow, y'all will know. And I'm not going to hold back on how I feel about it. It is what it is. I've done really well out there. I've also gone out there and done really bad. So I'm going to stay positive. I will pass. I will succeed. I will be good. I'm hoping that even when I'm done, I can go to the 1,000-yard range and just throw one down range just to see. But regardless, guys, that's it. That's how I do long range shooting. It's not hard. It's not overly complicated. You just have to enter the information on your gun or your ammunition or both, and your optic into the app, which including scope, MOAs or MRAD, your barrel twist, your bullet, altitude, humidity, all that good stuff, temperature, all that stuff you enter in, and it gives you the data you need to be successful. I've had a lot of luck, and so I expect you to have a lot of luck as well. Now, don't forget the fundamentals of trigger pull, sight alignment. Don't forget those fundamentals, guys. Those are very, very important, which I think we're going to have a fundamentals day at some point in time really, really soon before we go to Colorado, just so that we're in the right mindset, because sometimes you got to go back to the basics, guys. But anyways, I love y'all. Hope you found that information helpful. Hopefully this time, this is the second time I filmed this episode, hopefully you're able to see it all and get all the information you need to be helpful. Regardless, guys, I do love y'all. I will see y'all later.